to BigCountryPreps.com. I'm Evan Wren, and this is our countdown to two-a-days series, our daily look at an area football team and the key questions we're going to be answering about that team in our August 17th preseason preview here at Big Country Preps. I'm with my partner, Dan Youngblood, via Zoom, and tonight, Dan, the topic of conversation is the Sweetwater Mustangs.
Yeah, and the Sweetwater Mustangs are not terribly dissimilar from the Snyder Tigers this year, who we talked about yesterday, in that they are going to be replacing a whole lot of Letterman. They lost 27 of their 37 varsity players from last year's team. Only returned one offensive and two defensive starters. And when you think about some of the kids that have been kind of their playmakers and go-to guys the last several years, they're gone. So it's going to be a lot of new faces in very important positions. So we're just going to have to see kind of how Coach Lucas can handle that situation. I know that they're trying to build a program like we talked about with Snyder. They went 4-4 on JV last year, so they're going to have some kids that had a little bit of success. But it is going to be, I think, an uphill climb for Sweetwater this year, just in terms of getting a bunch of young players up to speed pretty quickly.
27 Letterman lost is a lot of Letterman to lose. They've only got 10 of them back. They'll have a varsity roster of about 30. They're going to have to replace Harrison Foster at wide receiver, which is a big loss. They're going to have to replace Leo Holsey at quarterback, which is a big loss. It could just be a rebuilding season for Sweetwater, and if it is, I think that's quite forgivable given what they have graduated this year. They are not very big in 2022. They're not. They've got a small set of linebackers. They'll be quick defensively, but it's going to be really important for that front three and that 3-3 stack to really occupy some blockers so that those linebackers can move around quickly and make stops. So we'll see. But if I'll tell you what, given his history, if anybody can win with a smallish team, it is Russell Lucas. He has made a living at doing that over the years.
Yeah, and his son Ryan, their defensive coordinator, the same way. I mean, they this is not anything necessarily new for them. When you look at some of those Hamlin defenses they put on the field, they went up against bigger lines often and really held up well. So it is going to be interesting to see kind of how that plays out. Offensively, it's going to be interesting because they're going to have to find playmakers. I mean, Malik Brown's back as a junior, and he's a guy who really has showed promise. Last year as a sophomore, guy ran for almost 500 yards, was their leading returning receiver with almost 250 yards. A really nice kind of dual threat out of the backfield. But around him, you got to replace a lot of guys. We're going to have to see who replaces Leo Holsey at quarterback, who kind of steps up as their top weapons at the receiver position, and honestly, how a largely new offensive line is going to hold up. I mean, like we said, they only return one offensive starter, so it's going to be a lot of kids in new, much larger roles. And we're just going to kind of see how that goes. The one thing that I think is interesting about the district they're in is obviously you've got to deal with Wichita Falls Hershey, which is a juggernaut. You've got Midland Greenwood in there, which is a very good program and returns quite a few players from last year's team. But below those two, it's only a 5-team district. You've got two others that are also rebuilding. Snyder's in kind of a similar situation, like we said earlier. Graham lost a lot of players from last year's team. So it's going to be interesting to kind of see which of those young teams can kind of make the progress most quickly once they get to district to see who can snag those last two playoff spots. Yeah, and just looking at the schedule, I think they've got a pretty good non-district schedule for the team that they've got returning. They got some challenges, but nothing that's going to, be overwhelming. They open the season August 26th with a road trip to Idalou. Follow that with back-to-back home games against San Angelo, Lakeview, and Pecos. And then another home game against Big Spring following that on September 16th before going on the road for their last two non-district games, September 23rd at Clyde and September 30th at Lubbock Estacado. So I think that's a really nice non-district schedule for them. You got some challenges, but nothing that's going to, wear down or overwhelm some young players that need to get some valuable experience during that time.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. The non-district schedule, it's got some challenges in it, but it's nothing overwhelming. And for a young team, that's what you want. You want some growing experiences and opportunities to get some W's and gain some confidence because they're going to need some confidence going into district play. They are open on October the 7th. They will host Midland Greenwood in their district opener on October 14th. They go to Graham on October 21st. They host Hershey on the 28th. And then they travel to Snyder on November the 4th. And if you have to look at them as decided underdogs against Greenwood and especially Hershey with this young ball club, if they do not win at Graham on October the 21st, which could be a very big game for them, a key game, then it could be a winner take all game in the season finale against their arch rival Snyder an elimination game for a playoff spot. That could happen.
Yeah, and that's really interesting because I think you're right. They're those two games against Greenwood and Hershey. Those are going to be really tough. You are going to be a decided underdog in those. And that game against Graham, you have to go on the road and kind of see where that stands in. But the one thing that is tough about Sweetwater's schedule is that both of the games that are probably the most important for their hopes of winning a playoff are both on the road. They go to Graham,
Yes.
like you said, on October 21st, and then go to Snyder in that regular season finale in what could be a massive game. So I think the Graham game is going to be interesting because it's going to tell us where I think both teams stand. I think that'll be a good matchup and a good measuring stick for both of those teams. And then obviously the Snyder game is going to be huge, regardless of what happens in front of it. That Snyder game is going to be really big, whether it's for seeding or whether it's just to get into the playoffs.
And with that, it's time to wrap up tonight's edition of the Countdown to Two-A-Days series, the Sweetwater Mustangs. But before we do that, we want to remind you that we've got 3 separate subscription packages here at Big Country Preps. We've got a monthly for $5 a month. We've got a semi-annual 6-month subscription where you knock that price down to $4 a month. And then we've got an annual 12-month subscription where we knock that price down to $3 a month, $36 for a full year of Big Country High School athletic coverage.
We'd also like to remind you before we close out this episode of our Countdown to Two-Day series to be on the lookout once again for that August 17th preseason football preview. We are just going to have a ton of area football content. You will definitely not want to miss that. In the meantime, thank you for joining us for this episode of our Countdown to Two-Day series. And make sure you join us again tomorrow when we will be talking about the Big Spring Steers here at BigCountryPreps.com.